Hi, welcome back. I'm Kylie with Curly and Loud, and this is August reading wrap up. And I'm so excited to share with you the books I got to read this month. The first book I read during August was Between the World and Me by, I'm gonna butcher your name, I'm so sorry, by Ta-Nehisi Coates. And this book was a tribute to his son. He starts it first off like son, and he is able to share his story. I dog-eared like 90% of this book, if not all of it. This book is only 152 pages. It was so good. It was so informative, and the author shares a lot about his experiences growing up as a Black man, being a Black father, trying to get a job as a Black man, and just living day to day as a Black man. Some of the main things he talks about with his son is his time in college. You know, that was a really big time for Coates when he got to embrace his Black heritage and get to study and learn about it. And just the story of him and the world and how different he perceives it and how the world perceives him is so great. I absolutely loved this book. Originally, I gave it about 4.5 stars, but when I wrote my Instagram post for it, I was like flipping through it, and I loved so much of it. Like, I wanted to quote the whole book. Honestly, if I could, I would. I upped my rating to 5 stars. Such a great book. If you just need a short, great, informative book by a Black author, and oh my gosh, like his writing is amazing. How he shares his stories and experiences. This is the book for you. Highly, highly recommend. So the next 3 books that I'm going to share with you all are part of a buddy read group. They're part of 3 separate buddy read groups. And I'm so glad that I was able to participate with them, because the books that we chose, I would have never picked up on my own. So the first book that I'm so glad that we got to pick up is The Boy in the Red Dress by Kristen Lambert. I give this book 4 stars. This book was just super fun. It was taking place back in the 1920s during the Prohibition, and this is Millie Coleman, and her aunt owns a speakeasy. She runs it one night, and the night that she runs it with Cal nowhere in sight, a murder happens. And they're accusing Millie's friend, Marion, but she knows that Marion did not commit the murder. So Millie goes out and tries to unravel the true story, Marion's past, and who really killed the girl on New Year's Eve. One thing I really liked about The Boy in the Red Dress was how fun it was. It was something different. I really liked the relationships that she had with her mom, her aunt, and even the cop that's in the story. It's just really fun how they bounce off of each other and how they impact her life too. Really liked about it. Not a lot of cons, and it was a fun read. 4 stars. The next book I read with my buddy read group is Saving Ruby King by Catherine Abel West. This book, I'm going to be very honest, I feel like everyone in the group kind of had a hard time getting through it. The first half, it's a drag. It's a bit of a drag, but once you hit the second half of the book, oh my gosh, I couldn't put it down. I was enjoying every minute of it from the second half onward. It was super easy to finish. The reason why it's so hard to kind of get into is because it's taking place in South Chicago, and it is about Ruby and how Ruby's mother was murdered. And so it's a little bit of a murder mystery as well. I did notice that was the main theme of this month accidentally, as most of the books I read were murder mysteries. But anyways, with this book, we try to figure out who killed Ruby's mom, and as well as Ruby is going through some mental illness with herself, and she's just trying to go through some things, and so her friend Layla tries to step in and tries to save Ruby King. One of the big reasons why it was so hard to get into as well was that there's so many characters in the book, and each character has a narrative. So it just goes back and forth. A lot of us in the book Buddy Read wish we heard from Ruby more, but what we did like about the narratives is that even the church that is included a main setting in this book, it even had a narrative in the book, and it would share about what it would see, and it would share the outsides and how it's decayed over the years, and just what's going on in Southside Chicago and within this church and the people. It's really, really cool, interesting perspective. It's just in the beginning, it's going back and forth a ton. Another thing that I really liked about the book was the theme. You know, how just because you go to church doesn't make you a saint. Just because you don't go to church doesn't make you the devil. And it really does display that in this book. You know, everyone is imperfect. We all make mistakes, and it's about how you respond to it. So in the end, I did end up giving this book 4 stars, just because the writing was really good all throughout the book. It's just the first half of it really did drag, but by the end, it made up for it, and I was really happy with it. The last physical book that I want to share with you that I was able to read this month, again, another murder mystery, but I'm so glad that the Buddy Read chose this book. It's been on my TBR list for way too long, and so we finally got it checked off. And that book is The 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle. I tried saying his name earlier. It's kind of a tongue twister, but it's Stuart Turton. Yes. And so, oh my gosh, right away, this book's 5 stars. Just, oh my gosh. It was so good. I finished it about 2 days ago, and I keep thinking about it, and it's just like how it all unraveled. Aiden Bishop wakes up as Sebastian Bell, and he does not know what's going on. He has no idea that his name is even Aiden Bishop. He has no idea where he is, what happened the previous night or the nights before. His memories are completely wiped away. And so he then finds out that he's in this, it's almost like Groundhog's Day, where he will keep repeating this day until he figures out who killed Evelyn Hardcastle. And then on top of it, each day he wakes up, he will wake up as a different character that was there the day that she was murdered. What I really liked about this book is the rules. The rules of this book weren't revealed in the first, 10, 15 pages. No, the rules didn't get revealed until page like 75 to 125. And he didn't even learn that his name was Aiden Bishop until page 100 and something. And then the things just kept unraveling. The more you read, the more you learn and the more you know. And oh my God, just how it all came together. I absolutely loved this book from beginning to end. This book is 458 pages. I was able to finish this book in 5 days, and I'm really proud of myself, a little personal accomplishment, but it was a really good book, and I honestly could not put this down. Another thing I loved about this was the writing, how the author wrote and shared the details. I loved how the author really did think about how he was going to give this information to you, okay, how can we figure this out? I also really liked the characters and how they each had an important role, and I honestly can go on. It was just so tense. I was honestly reading it and I would get chills down my back. I loved The 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle. Now that was all the physical books I was able to read. Now I want to share with you all the audiobooks I was able to listen to this month. I've just started to get into audiobooks in the last month and a half, and I'm so glad I have, because things are getting busier, and the audiobooks allows me to stay up on my reading goals, as well if it's a nice little distraction and makes the time pass. So I highly recommend audiobooks if you aren't listening to them now, but you just have to find what you are able to listen to, because sometimes you do just get a little carried away and you start thinking about something else and not the book. So maybe that book isn't meant to be read via audio. So highly recommend them, but let's get started. So the very first audiobook that I listened to in the month of August was Thanks to Saving a Fire by Catherine Center. I give this book 5 stars. I also give the audiobook 5 stars because I honestly loved the narrator of this story. The the narrator, she got into the book. You could tell she was loving this book too. She would get like switch her tone so she sounded like the male's perspective and the female, and she just really got into it. So highly recommend this as an audiobook. I really loved, I can't comment on the writing of course, but I really loved the story. I really loved Things to Save in a Book. Things to Save in a Fire, it was just fun, it was cute, and you'll love the relationship between Cassie and the rookie. It is just a story that you just have to read or listen to. Highly recommend Things to Save in a Fire. The next book that I was able to listen to in August was How to Stop Feeling Like Beep. But this one was really great. I really loved how to stop feeling like crap, and it was just very informative. It was able to allow me to be aware of certain things, especially like a big chapter that I took out of it was numbing. How are you being healthy with your numbing? Of course, sometimes we just need to come home. We need to have a glass of wine, or we just need to sit in front of the TV for a little bit, chill out. Totally understandable. But are you doing it responsibly? You know, a lot of us turn it to, oh, it's just my self-care. Oh, it's no big deal. But are you taking it too far to where it's almost unhealthy? And she discussed. Second point that I honestly love that she brought up about this book was comparison. You know, every time, there's so many books, everyone's like, stop comparing, stop doing this, you know, just worry about you, don't worry about them. Truthfully, it doesn't work. How many times have you told yourself to stop comparing and in that second you do? Yeah, very few times. And what I like that the author mentioned is when it comes to comparing, acknowledge it. You need to learn to manage your comparison. So don't go over the deep end and just monitor it. It's okay to compare yourself. It's human, we're imperfect, that's how it is. But we have to be able to manage our comparison. This book, this audiobook, it's super short, it's great, it's very informative, I highly recommend it, and it was able to open me up to many other mental health books as well. With this book, this audiobook, I give 4 stars. The last audiobook I read in August was Dare to Lead by Brene Brown. This book was actually, the girl that wrote How to Stop Feeling Like Crap, she recommended Dare to Lead by Brene Brown. Very glad that I was able to read it. This book, I shifted between 3 and 4 stars. I'm going to give it 4 stars because it is a great book. It really is. It doesn't fully apply to me because I'm self-employed. And a lot of the advice she was giving was for people that worked in an office or with a team and stuff. And I don't do that. So with some of it, it was great to hear, to listen to, but overall, you know, it was good information. I was still able to grab at least 10% to carry it with me. And a lot of it wasn't just working in the office space. It was also, you know, just personal things. How do we handle matters? When we're angry, how do we reflect that? If you work in the corporate world or if you work on a team, this book is probably definitely for you because she gives a ton of advice regarding that. Dare to Lead, 4 stars. Thank you guys so much for joining me again for this video for the August 2020 reading wrap up. I also shared this video on my Instagram, Curly and Loud, and I also shared it on the blog, curlyandloud.com. So we look forward to see you guys next time. And what did you guys get to read this month? I want to see it. I need more books, of course, to add to my TBR list. So share with me in the comments, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.